Hi, Grace family. Happy Friday to you. Today we're going to finish the book of First Peter. But before we get into the last verses of First Peter, a couple of things to share with you. Number one, this Sunday, August 16th, we're only going to have an online worship service. We will continue the outdoor worship services every week beginning in September. So look for that. Also ask that you would keep Grace Christian School in your prayers. They are going to open remotely this coming Tuesday. So we'll ask God's blessings upon the school year. It'll surely be interesting, but we're really grateful for the kids that we do have, and we're going to do everything we can to support them and encourage them and to teach them as best we can under the circumstances that the Lord sets before us. So a remote start this coming Tuesday. Please pray for Grace Christian School, specifically those students and their families that we get to serve. Now let's get into the last couple verses. In 1 Peter chapter 5, we'll begin with verse 12. It says, "By Silvanus, a faithful brother, as I regard him, I have written briefly to you, exhorting and declaring that this is the true grace of God. Stand firm in it. She who is at Babylon, who is likewise chosen, sends you greetings, as does Mark, my son. Greet one another with the kiss of love. Peace to all of you who are in Christ." So Peter concludes by telling us that he is using someone, a secretary of some sorts, to dictate this letter. So Silvanus is the one doing that. A lot of people think that's Silas, Paul's companion on the missionary journeys. Probable. I'm not really sure on this. Now he writes this letter to the elect exiles of the dispersion, people that God took purposely to scatter so that they can proclaim the gospel as missionaries in foreign places. Peter says that he's exhorting and declaring that this is the true grace of God. See, indeed, every Christian, every missionary, every fellow elder, as Peter speaks about himself, stands firm in the grace of God. And in the end, that's what we communicate, that God is a God of grace, that God will punish sin, but desires to have grace and mercy upon sinful humanity. And he does that through the sacrifice of his son. That is Christianity based in the grace of God, undeserved favor from God. Encourages everyone to stand in it. And then he says something interesting. Verse 13, "She who is at Babylon sends you greetings." Who's the she and what is this Babylon? So Peter is actually talking in code here, right? So he is writing at a time where there's a widespread persecution of Christians. That's why he talks a lot about suffering. That's why he mentions earlier in chapter 5 about the fiery trials. So Peter's talking in code because Babylon is code language for everything that stands against God's people, everything that stands against the church. So right now he's talking about Rome because we are dealing in 1 Peter in the days of the Neronian persecution. Actually, Peter's going to write his second letter, and then he will be a martyr for his proclamation of Jesus as risen Lord. So Peter is saying, she who is at Babylon, the church, the community of Christians in Babylon, Rome, sends you greetings. So recognize what this does to the elect exiles of dispersion, as they are also suffering, as they are also spreading the gospel, as they have been scattered by God for this express purpose of sharing the gospel. Peter brings to mind is that, hey, there are some other Christians that we got to use code language for. They are also suffering. They greet you. Again, as we talked about last time, right? Knowing that the same kinds of sufferings are being experienced by your brotherhood throughout the world. But not only the church at Babylon, Rome, greets the recipients of Peter's letter, but also so does Mark, he says, my son. Now think back to Acts chapter 12, where Peter's in prison, right? The Lord sets him free from prison. The first place he goes to is a house, the house of Mary, right? Whose son was John Mark. That's where Peter goes when he gets freed from prison. We think that this Mark is the John Mark from Acts chapter 12. That is the Mark that wrote the second gospel, the Gospel of Mark. That close connection between Mark and Peter. In a tender, really, connection, he calls Mark my son. Verse 14, greet one another with a kiss of love. Of course, this was written before social distancing. So yeah, we got the kiss of love here. Peace to all of you who are in Christ. And I send that encouragement to you. Peace to you who are in Christ. And we'll see you online this Sunday and for another video Tuesday. God bless you.